Welcome to the University Election Special of Urbanter. My name is Natalia.
And my name is Timo.
So today we're going to discuss the upcoming faculty elections with a Pro Geo candidate and a GSB candidate. But do not forget that there are also university council elections coming up. Timo, what are the parties for the university council?
So for the university council, you can vote for three main parties. De Vrije Student, DVS. You can also vote for the Lijst Calimero. And you can vote for the Studentenorganisatie Groningen, SOG.
Voting for the University Council election and the Faculty Council election will be done between May 12th to May 16th.
And we will post the links to these parties in the description. So enjoy. So, welcome. This is our Urbanter special about the election, where we're going to talk about the council election. And I'm going to start with just letting our two candidates introduce themselves, because it is the first time that our faculty has elections. Because we always used to have Pro Geo as the only one. So, Elliot, would you like to start as a...
Sure, yes. So, hi, I'm Elliot. I'm running for Pro Geo in the upcoming faculty elections at the Faculty of Spatial Sciences. I'm a first year human geography and planning student, and in my first year, I've done a lot of faculty-related activities like the EGEA committee, part of IBN, and also been the part of the program committee for the Human Geography and Planning program as a first-year representative, and been the vice chair of that PC, and also part of the Urbanter editorial and podcast team. And I'm now also running for a Pro Geo board position and the faculty council as well.
Oh, fun. And Jan, you're here from GSB.
Yep. Hi, my name is Jan. I'm also a first-year human geography and planning student. I'm an international student. I come here from the wonderful country of Poland, and I associated myself with the GSB, also for the reason you mentioned, because I feel like the faculty we are in really needs to have more activity when it comes to how we decide how it works and how it runs. And since we never had elections, a lot of our students just didn't have the opportunity to engage to the way I think they should have. They should have the possibility to. So as a movement, we're here to bring more activity, more politics, more decision-making and co-governance to the Faculty of Spatial Sciences. And that is what motivates me here to be with you, and hope we can make it work.
Thank you guys for the introduction. So we're going to start off with also just asking you always touched upon it, Jan, like what does GSB stand for, and then specifically GSB in the faculty?
The GSB is a citywide student union, which I think is a very important point to mention, because this essentially means that we're not only focused on one faculty. And our goals are generally much broader than the goals that can be accomplished within one unit that the faculty is. We try to cooperate with multiple faculties. We are running for multiple councils and multiple boards. We also function in Hansa, and this generally gives us a pretty broad range and a lot of possibilities to actually put a lot of pressure on both the university, both the city, and fight for goals that may be beyond just the faculty. So the GSB stands for things like autonomy of faculties. We stand for things like the representation and fairness for all students, regardless of their background. And those are things that we're trying to accomplish precisely through the means that I've mentioned. So we put a lot of pressure. We organize protests, we strike, and we try to cooperate as well through conversation and through coming to compromise.
Yeah, thank you. And Pro Geo.
Yes, so first of all, I do want to recognize that the GSB's role and achievement as a student union in Groningen is genuinely impressive. And I am actually, I believe it serves a very important role in the city's student affairs, and that you generally do have options and abilities as a large organization that Pro Geo just isn't able to accomplish, of course, as a faculty specific student union and representative body. So I believe it plays a very integral role in our faculty as well, and we've worked together in the past on certain issues, of course, with the protests regarding budget cuts, etc. So I'm glad it exists. As for Pro Geo's role, I'd like to say that so throughout the whole history of our faculty, we've had Pro Geo sort of as the unitary party, and under Pro Geo we have individual students who run for the board, for the faculty council, and they all pretty much have their own agendas and individual motivations, which now that there's an election, you can vote for among our candidate list. So it isn't necessarily a party that has a unitary vision that would overshadow like people's individual goals as council members. So we do have like a shared policy plan, of course, that we've published, and a lot of shared goals. And we, as a Pro Geo, as a party, wants to accomplish a lot regarding like decolonial theory and pre-master representation and all these sort of specific issues. But ultimately, we are our individual candidates, and therefore, pretty much anyone can apply for a Pro Geo board position, and as a result, become effective council member and completely like champion for their own individual goals. And there you go.
So Pro Geo is more kind of a group of individuals with a shared goal. What is that shared goal? Or
so we do have a shared goal regarding like certain policies and goals we want to accomplish. But we also have our own disagreements, and we don't like fall in with party line like regarding anything. So we like act as individuals in the group, try and work together, and all just pretty much out of people who apply for the Pro Geo board position are selected for the council itself.
And how, if I'm voting Pro Geo, how do I know that the person I'm voting for what they want, or can I look at a policy document? Or?
So the policy plan itself is obviously a great way, and also the Pro Geo party profile to look at what the party stands for. But if you're interested in like the individual candidates' plans and policy goals, then you can pretty much talk to them during the campaigning week, contact them, or always just look at the voting list and see what we've written for our descriptions regarding our own goals.
Thank you.
Additionally, for Pro Geo, this is the first time that you are competing for votes. So with GSB, is this causing any changing or adapting in any way to this new situation?
Yes. So one thing I'd like to bring up is that the Faculty of Spatial Sciences in our university has actually received praise from a lot of other faculties in how things are run, precisely because of Pro Geo's sort of integrated historical like precedents in the faculty itself. So because Pro Geo has been sort of like the single most, or rather the only body that sort of acts in the faculty council itself, there's been very little sort of friction between the staff members and the student members. And because a lot of the current faculty council staff members may have also been part of the project itself when they were students here, there's no animosity, and it's just everything functions great. And the efficiency of how the system works right now is actually very good compared to how like some other faculties with several parties run. And the sort of the program committee structure regarding like course and program evaluations is also very integrated into Pro Geo as a system, because we have a Pro Geo board member on every single program committee who then can very efficiently, like the communication channels are set up in a way that is very efficient for course development.
Yeah. As a Hayes Bay representative, I'd just like to add that we are not here to cause animosity or to come into conflict with Pro Geo. As it was mentioned already, we have pretty good relationships. I believe there's even multiple members of both organisms, and they function pretty well there. But we do think that while the current system is running well and the faculty is, as I agree, is pretty well received by other people in the university, it's going to be much safer if we have a more democratic process that is actually standing behind this effectiveness. Because in the current day, it's functioning well, but we don't really know what is going to happen in the future. We don't know who's going to be in the Pro Geo board in the next 10 years. We don't know those things. And we think that a situation in which students are going to be more involved in this process is simply going to guarantee that the current status quo is going to continue in a quality manner, and that students are also going to feel more represented by the boards, by the councils, and by the program committees as well. So we want to keep the effectiveness. We want to keep the good cooperation. We don't want to fight with Pro Geo, but we want to simply bring the voice of the people more, and we want to make sure that this is a representative body at its core as well.
Okay, because you both mentioned now the course evaluation part, so this effectiveness in Pro Geo, but also getting people in. Because currently, Pro Geo does the course evaluation part, right?
Yeah, we play a big role in it.
And who chooses the people that are in the course evaluation? Is it Pro Geo or?
Oh no, so we have like program committee representatives that are pretty much chosen by the Pro Geo board. So every September, each program in the Faculty of Spatial Sciences receives as many representatives as there are years, I believe, in that program. So the Human Geography and Planning Bachelor has 3 for years 1, 2, and 3, and then the Pro Geo board member. And I believe the same as the SBD, and then obviously the master's programs have, I believe, 2 each. So Pro Geo is like very integrated into the whole program committee selection process, has been throughout the faculty's history, and it's very integrated into it. So GSB's sort of entry into the competition or faculty council sort of approaches a new territory in a way that it creates a lot of like de facto status quo problems regarding how like certain like things are run and what the sort of intelligence exchange between Pro Geo board members and faculty council members becomes, as those roles sort of become separate, assuming GSB receives a spot on the council. So so far the efficiency has been largely created exactly because those 2 roles are similar, and Pro Geo pretty much runs the developmental aspects of the faculty's program committees. So it's very efficient and integrated into it. So sort of changing that would create a lot of unknowns in the coming years.
Because how would GSB want to be accommodated in this?
Yep. So program committees are something that I think is very important for today's discussion. And I don't necessarily believe that change is going to be the problem. I believe change is pretty necessary for a faculty as it happens right now. I think the programs are run well, and I don't necessarily think that Pro Geo is not competent at organizing program committees. But I think the process in which this committee selection happens should be brought back to the faculty itself. Today, if you go on Google search and you try to find information on how to get into a program committee or who is in a program committee, you're not going to find that information on the university websites or on the faculty websites. All of this is on the Pro Geo website. The selection happens by the Pro Geo board. Every year in September, new students are approached by Pro Geo members about this. So this is essentially outsourced to Pro Geo. And this has been the case because Pro Geo has been the only organization in the faculty that's concerned with those things. So I don't necessarily think there's bad intent in this. This is just the status quo. But in the future, I think this should be changed. This should be a process that is more transparent, and this is going to come back to the faculty as it is in basically all other faculties of a university. Because some students may want to be engaged in program committees without having to go through the board of Pro Geo, which makes their decisions in a process that isn't necessarily transparent or known. So as GSB, we wish this to be a process that is taken through elections. So we want program committee members to be elected, and Pro Geo obviously is going to be able to run in those elections and is going to be able to make their decisions on who runs through the board. But at the end of the day, we want students to be able to make this decision more democratically, and we want this process to be more transparent. And we want them to also have access to information on who is in the committees and how to contact them through the university websites and services.
Pro Geo, how do you feel about this suggestion, and how would you accommodate GSB?
Yes, actually, I would like to ask a question. You mentioned that if a student would like to join a program committee and would not like to go through the Pro Geo channels, then they don't have a choice, which is true. But I'm curious why you think someone would want to do that. Why would they want to avoid Pro Geo as a body when applying for program committees?
I don't necessarily see. I think this question should be framed in a bit of a different way, because I feel like the default option just in most students' heads isn't to associate themselves with an organization, especially for first years. As a first-year student, in September especially, you may just not want to join an organization or to have to be associated with them, to run under their name necessarily. You just don't have the knowledge on that. You don't have the knowledge on what the organization does and how it's received in the university. I still think many people are willing to do that. And myself, I wouldn't have a problem being a program committee member with the help of Pro Geo. But it's more of a principle thing that they should just have the choice of not doing that. They should have the choice of going through different routes. And the default route should not involve an organization that is at its core a student association. It's a association created by students. It's not officially tied to the faculty. It doesn't have a legally primary function. It may as well, there may as well be another organization of the same legal status if someone decides to set it up. They didn't, so this is how it looks like today, but we need to make the system accommodate for all possible scenarios and not necessarily just work as a kind of temporary solution.
So as a current program committee representative, I can speak from experience and say that the selection process was an interview with the Pro Geo board. They chose the most competent candidate, and then we became PC members. And ever since, engagement with Pro Geo itself, if that is something you, for whatever reason, uncomfortable with or just prefer not to do, is entirely optional technically. And as a PC member now, if I decided to dislike Pro Geo and not want to cooperate with them anyway, then I could simply just do my job and not really work with them much. There's a Pro Geo board member on the committee itself, and obviously working with them is simply efficient and helps everyone out, but it's not a must in the way you might think.
Because I come out of this discussion with two questions. So we still see that Pro Geo board chooses who's on the choose the people, but also GSB says do elections instead, open elections. How would these elections work? Is it like the council election or?
Similar. So this is also one of the things that we bring in as a large body, is that we cooperate with multiple faculties, and we have program committees, and we have council members in different faculties that already may have elections or different ways of electing program committees. So we have options of getting inspired and seeing how this works in multiple different organisms, making sure that we can choose the best solutions for us. The primary goal is to make sure that this process is at its core democratic and fair and transparent. Elections are the ideal solution in that situation, and we would like it to simply involve students of their program being able to elect the representative for the program committee. And we believe this is the option that gives us the highest likelihood that the people in the program committee are going to be representative of the entire course, and that they are going to be also responsible, and they're going to feel a responsibility for the students they represent in there.
Then there's a critical question then, because even the council elections don't really have a high turnout. So wouldn't this just
we don't really know the turnout of council elections, because there never have been council elections in our faculty. We want to make sure this turnout is going to be high, and we hope that even if this year it's not going to be astronomical, that if we are able to upkeep the tradition of actually having the elections happen in our faculty, this is going to grow over time. As an organization, we have experience, and we have people who help make the campaign engaging. We have people who help make promotional materials, organize meetings, debates, and those types of events generally showcase to the students that there is much more to the university than just studying, and that this is also a collection of people, a community that has to make decisions about itself. And that this decision-making mechanism, the process, is happening in May. And this is the elections. And we want our students to be able to partake in this, even if this hasn't been the case in the past.
Because when doing some research for this discussion, we looked at FEB, which is a faculty that has parties, 3 different parts in the council for students, but they also have a separate organization called Quest that does all the course evaluation. So would this maybe be for Pro Geo future, if GSB gets in, that you separate it? Or
I don't know if we would allocate an entire set of tasks to the other party, but like you said, other faculties do have indeed different parties and bodies running and sort of managing different parts of the council and course development process, which does create inherent inefficiencies, right? Like the communication channels between the Pro Geo board and the faculty council non-existent, because they are the same thing right now. So there's zero friction there, and in general, it's just right now it runs very efficiently because it just technically everything's so seamless. And I believe if we were to run program committees through elections as well, we'd create a lot of unnecessary voting in a way, and like just elections in general, I think the current way where a elected body selects the program committee representatives sort of works in like a representative hierarchy function technically, and anyone in the faculty can apply for these positions in September and then be interviewed, and then if you perform well, then be selected.
The issue is, from what I see, is that obviously there is no elected body in our faculty as of now. So the program committee members are not chosen by elected representatives, and even if there is a low turnout, we still maintain that a few people choosing a program committee member from the course that they partake in is more representative and better than having those people be selected through a process that is inaccessible or unknown to most of us and is ultimately decided by people who are not studying the program, who are not in the same year as you are, because this is the case today. Again, I don't think those are necessarily bad choices. I just think those choices would be more secure and would be more representative if they were more tied to elected bodies, whether that is to be directly elected by students, or whether that is that we actually manage to make the faculty council be more representative and elected this year. And as the faculty council, we're going to help choose program committees this or next season, for example. I just think, the current state of affairs is that, personally, I don't know how the Pro Geo board is chosen, for example. So I don't know how this body is elected, who gets to elect the Pro Geo board. And they are ultimately the people that pick my program committee, and that they're then going to advise on what I am studying and who teaches me those things and how they do it. So I just want to be able to know and to have access to information on how this works and perhaps influence this independently as well.
So in recent years, we have actually not had that many applicants apply for the Pro Geo board position itself, which has resulted in zero competition. So the board is pretty much automatically selected just among the people who apply. And because there have been no competing parties in a lot of years, just like 5 people applying, which is the faculty council member count and also the Pro Geo board member count as well. There haven't been any elections because there hasn't been any competition to elect, right? So so far, pretty much anyone who's wanted to can apply for it and likely get the spot. And this year, because there is more of an applicant pool and also a competing party, that is why we do have elections, and it's going to be selected by the student body itself. But one question I'd like to ask about that is that we've looked at GSB's sort of plans regarding the Faculty of Spatial Sciences, and we haven't found any publicly available sort of action plan regarding what the faculty needs to see and how it needs to be developed in their vision. So I'm curious what you have to say about that, maybe.
Yep. The program points are prepared, and they, as of recording, aren't yet available on the website of GSB.
Yeah.
But they will be made available probably in the next few days. So at the point of publishing, they should be there at GSB.fyi/vote, and you can also see points for other for the faculties there as well. But our program, I can just try to describe it quite quickly here, is centered around a few things. So firstly, it's about a big protest against the mergers of faculties and against the removal of English speaking and English language courses. This is a pretty big topic, and the reason for that is that this is a prerequisite of any other points that we may bring in. So if the faculty gets essentially removed or is merged with other faculties, then a lot of the other points that we want to bring forward just aren't going to be possible to implement, or they're going to have to change so radically. So the most important point, and this is the point that we probably want to work with Pro Geo on, because I assume they also want to preserve the faculty's independence, is that we firmly stand against faculty mergers, and we unite with other faculty councils on this. We have a cohesive program as GSB that we firmly stand against any mergers. We advocate for a solution where faculties are going to be cooperating more closely, but ultimately are going to retain their independence as it is.
Yep, absolutely, fully agree.
Other points refer to increasing the clarity that we have between programs. So, for example, a lot of people, especially in their first years, are faced with a problem of wanting to switch between SPD and HGP. And we think a lot of this can be prevented just through a better information policy. So making sure that whoever applies is at least 90% sure that they are choosing the right program between the two bachelors. That's one of the points we want to make. And we also want to make sure that the university, apart from just allowing the faculty to exist, also makes a commitment that in the future, the faculty is going to settle more. One of the problems that our faculty experiences is that we obviously don't have much study spaces that is dedicated for us. We have one building which doesn't have any lecture hall, and we're forced to share facilities with other faculties, and we're at the mercy of being given access to rooms and lecture halls, which also aren't always perfect. There's places where we don't have electrical outlets. There's places that are far away from each other, and we have to move between lectures multiple times during the day. We want the university to make a commitment that this state of affairs is going to change, that as a faculty we're going to have a more permanent position, that we're going to have access to the better study spaces if we are forced to use the study spaces of another faculty. And this obviously involves also applying pressure on the university as a whole, as in the entire body.
So you're working pretty close with other GSB in other councils, if I understand correctly.
Yeah. About the mergers, for example, I believe there's 7 faculties that are affected by this. So that is a lot of people, and we all don't want to be thrown together into one massive mega faculty that's going to include programs like spatial planning and design and religion. We think those programs are very difficult to manage under a single banner, and there's simply no reason for us to agree to that. When we have a pretty well-functioning faculty as of today, which already was mentioned by the Pro Geo representative here, right? So,
but isn't this a university council? Isn't this on university level? And what are you going to do on a faculty level?
It is. It is a decision that has to be made on a broader scale than just us. But the necessary point is that as the faculty council, we have to make a stance. We cannot just be completely silent and act as if this doesn't concern us.
We won't be. Yeah. No,
we won't be, yeah. That's I think that's the promise we can both make here.
Yeah, I do think the Faculty of Spatial Sciences is like genuinely like a jewel among the faculties at the University of Groningen. Like it's generally just like a wonderful faculty, and I'm very glad to be a part of it. And I think personally that the best way to preserve it is to have as much cohesion as possible. And I think Pro Geo is like the continuation of Pro Geo is the best way to go about it.
So GSB has mentioned a couple different examples of like their activism and fighting back against things like budget cuts and merging. So what are you as Pro Geo doing to prevent this?
Budget cuts specifically?
Just in general, you mentioned like a couple different things that you guys are actively taking a stance on.
Yes. So regarding like activism and protesting, etc., naturally as Pro Geo is nowhere near the size of GSB as an organization, we don't really have the resources to organize like major protests specifically. But we have, for example, regarding the recent budget protest, collaborated with GSB regarding promotion and like making students through social media channels and other channels aware of what's going on. And we've sent out monthly like newsletters every other month and like sort of try and update students on what's happening and try to sort of through communication with other organizations figure out ways that we can like promote like actions against these current developments. And project itself is, like I said, is not really large enough to organize them, but we do definitely collaborate with other entities to try and like get FSS students to pretty much like be involved in as much of that as possible.
Also with merging, how you just mentioned like we will also hear from you about the merging and we'll be fighting.
Definitely.
How will you be doing that? Is there a plan or is it just...
So definitely that'll be included in the policy plan regarding how the faculty will and the university is going to approach this whole issue. And once there's like further clarity on what's actually going to happen, what are the likely outcomes, then we're going to take a vocal stance on whatever it is. And if it involves faculty mergers in any way, then definitely just champion against it and make our stance clear, and just try and communicate and work with our student members and students of the faculty itself to try and stop as much as possible. And in the faculty council, then obviously like make it clear that so much would be lost if anything happened regarding FSS's future existence.
Yep. On the point of generally protesting against budget cuts or the internationalization policy or any other thing that is coming to us, to the university from either the central government or the university government, scale is a big thing, as we kind of agreed on already. Mm-hmm. But scale works two ways. And this means that we as the HSB are a big organization, and this gives us more ways of influencing the university, but also the bigger we get, the more councils we participate in as the union, the more seats we get in elections this year, the bigger of organization we're going to be, and the stronger the point that we make is going to be, the more representative we will be seen as. So today you have parties that are either faculty specific, or you even have parties that are Netherlands wide. So you have parties that are for the whole of the country. And we're exclusively offering a very interesting proposal of being a citywide party that is able to be very big, but also representative and quite specific. So the start in these elections isn't only about bringing the scale to faculties, it's also about bringing faculties into this big action that we have as the HSB of being the representative body for students of the whole city. And having this title allows us to put much more pressure on the university, on the municipality, or any other organization that may or may not represent our needs today.
Yes, I am actually curious. So your party currently has you're the only running candidate, if I recall correctly, and there are two support list members. Is that correct?
We have 3 people on the list for the Faculty of Spatial Sciences.
Yeah, and are 2 of those support list members, or are they running for the council on
they are willing to take a seat if we're able to win more than one.
Okay, so how do you think, assuming you get a seat or 2 or maybe even 3, how do you think sort of like breaking up the makeup of the faculty council will benefit students in seeing like your plans regarding university level issues come true? Like how does a HSB representative on the Faculty Council of Spatial Sciences benefit students and like make up for the administrative sort of confusions caused by it on a university level, in the way that like the issues that you seek to promote and address at a university level, how does faculty council membership of a single HSB person coming on, like how does that help students?
Well, it necessarily brings a choice, and it brings diversity into the faculty council. This means that if there is any vote, if there is any motion brought into the faculty council, there is always a voice that has the possibility to simply disagree, or there is a voice that has a possibility to bring other motions that may not be brought otherwise. Obviously, we're going to be looking for majority. We're going to be looking for cooperation. We're not there just to protest, and we're not there just to disagree. But we are there to make sure that there is always a situation in which if there is a conflict, there are 2 sides to it, and that students have somebody that they can contact, that they can show support to, or that they can try to convince in order to get the outcome that they desire. But fundamentally, this is also about having a member there that is able to bring in ideas, that is able to start conversations under the same name that council members are in other faculties. So as the HSB, since we cooperate very closely with other councils, for example, the PSS or Economics and Business, I hope this year, are going to be able to make statements together, and we're going to be able to point to the fact that we have representation in multiple faculties, that there are students that have voted for us on multiple faculties, and we're going to be able to point to that as proof that we are necessarily there representing a much broader group of people than just us as activists or as council members. But we are there simply through a democratic mandate that the students have given us. And I think that's a pretty strong stance that obviously is going to grow as time flows. This year, there's 3 people on the list, and we'll see if and how many seats we manage to win. Next year, that may be more. And this is not only about our faculties. This is about the whole university. Last year there was way less candidates from the HSB, and I believe we have people in 2 faculty councils. This year we have 6 lists, which is already quite an achievement for us. And this means that the potential is already way bigger than it was last year. So the years in the future are just looking more optimistic.
Sorry. Can I ask something?
I'll first get a comment, but because you're talking about this holistic perspective, you also, GSB, I know, mentioned it on their website. That's one of the reasons why they're pushing this. But aren't you maybe then also, at the end of the day, it's the faculty council of the faculty. So how can you, GSB, keep yourself to the faculty, and won't this maybe create kind of a distance? I mean, already on your posters, you have the old name of the faculty. Is it not a distance? Pro Geo is in the faculty and our faculty members. And I guess, of course, GSB also has that, but is Groningen wide? Doesn't that create distance?
On the posters we have, I believe there's 2 versions. There is the English and the Dutch name of the faculty. Probably the future ones are going to be only in English, considering the programs are in English as well. On the point of distance, I don't think that's a threat, precisely because as people, we're just able to multitask quite efficiently. The amount of meetings, the amount of work that we as faculty council members are going to have allows us to focus on multiple perspectives and multiple points. And at its core, even though I am, for example, associated with the HSB and I talk and think a lot about university-wide things, at the end of the day, I am a student of this faculty, and this is the environment I spend most of my time in. This is the environment that I care about the most. And I have this perspective all the time, regardless of who I associate myself with. So this perspective doesn't go away. The wide perspective is an enrichment and is something unique to the HSB. That's why I'm bringing it forward as much as I am today. But at the end of the day, we're able to do multiple things as people, and we're also willing to simply cooperate with people in the faculty. We're able to collect opinions. We're able to talk to our fellow students, and we want to make this very accessible, right? So if any of us get elected, all the possibility of contacting us is going to be there, and we really hope that students who have a question or who have an idea that they want to bring forward are willing to, and are going to have the possibility to come into touch. That is what we want to offer at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I think Timo's question was very valid, because Pro Geo's merits inherently are tied to its scale. We every single project board member is like very intertwined with faculty affairs. We know everything about how things function on our faculty specifically, and we're sort of specialized in addressing FSS issues and development specifically. And I'm actually curious if you have any specific gripes, or have you disagreed with any specific project board policy in the past? What do you think really needs addressing, or is anything that you think we've done poorly in specific faculty council policies and the way we've performed our action plan and designed it? Do you think there's anything Pro Geo has done specifically poorly recently?
So it's difficult to answer this question. So I won't answer this question positively. I won't say yes, and I'm not going to list things that I disagree with. But that is because as a student, I just don't necessarily know what is a result of Pro Geo work and what is the result of just faculty work. And this is something we've already touched upon. It's a very integrated body. And I like the faculty. I like how it operates. There are things that I want to make better, and there are things that are on our that I've listed, like, for example, the program division and how it's informed, for how students are informed about the differences between programs that I think could use some work. So at the end of the day, I don't necessarily have a problem with what Pro Geo has done, but I also don't know what Pro Geo has done, and that is something that I would like to see change as well. Because at the end of the day, criticism is something we all can use as people, as activists. We can listen to criticism to make sure that our work gets better, and criticism can only be received if our students are fully aware what we are responsible for and what is our initiative us, whether that is HSB or Pro Geo. So I want also just to make sure that Pro Geo is informing students of what is their initiative and how they bring it forward through the council.
So you are actually completely right about that in the way that Pro Geo's communication, running like faculty council, like structure, etc. The way it's done is definitely not transparent enough. I think that the average student in our faculty doesn't really know much about what the faculty council is, what it does, what Pro Geo's role is in it, and like how the program committees work and how their course evaluation like forms are actually received and what happens to them. And that is precisely actually the reason why I am running in these elections, to like improve Pro Geo's communication to the extent that students would actually be like have access to knowledge easily and be informed of the things that occur, so that like the way Pro Geo functions is actually accessible to students, and it's like way more approachable to the average student. Yeah. And the current board has actually done a pretty good job of starting a bi-monthly or semi-monthly newsletter. So they update the students every other month based on about their like what the work they've worked on and what's happened regarding the faculty council. But I still think a lot of work could be done in informing students of what actually happens and how they are represented and how actually like their issues and their rights and their interests are actually represented on a faculty level. And that is something I wish to improve in these upcoming elections.
This is really good to hear. And I necessarily just want to make this very clear that I simply don't think there is a disagreement here. I think both the Pro Geo and HSB have functions and roles to fulfill in the faculty council. And I would ideally want to see a faculty council where we both exist, where we cooperate and we fulfill different functions, because we are, like, at its core, we're different. We have different scales, we have different ideas, we have different organizations, and we are made up of different people. So I think it's really good that we don't overlap as much as parties in other elections do, because we're ultimately not here to argue who is going to be a better representative when it comes to merit or who is going to be a better representative when it comes to protest. We're here to argue that we both have things that we're good at, and we want to make sure that both of us, both parties, have the space to make use of the things that they're best at. And I think this is what those elections necessarily are going to be about. So I'm really open to cooperating, and I'm really optimistic that we're going to be able to find common ground on multiple topics, and we're just going to be able to use the connections we have as different entities to make sure that we're still effective, just through a more democratic manner.
I think that's a very great message. And with that, I would like to ask you to both give a closing words.
Yes, sure. So I think ultimately the main disagreement probably comes down to Pro Geo seeing HSB's role and like cooperation with them as a question of scale. I think Pro Geo functions as a faculty level representative body very efficiently, very well, has for decades, and benefits from the scale very much and the way it is accessible for students who wish to participate in faculty affairs and council work. And HSB's role so far as a university level representative body has, I believe, worked much better in the way that students are represented on different scales, and the efficiency that arises from Pro Geo being the faculty council party and anyone being able to become a Pro Geo member, and Pro Geo not being any like specific organization that has very rigid goals, but rather a sort of an umbrella under which students can unite and represent themselves, is a very functional system so far. And I am grateful it works that way, and I just simply wish that the best party may win.
My closing word is as follows. This year's election is going to be very important, and it's going to be a very specific election for the future of our faculty. We are in a very difficult year when we are faced with budget cuts, when we're faced with controversial proposals on faculty mergers, but it's also the election where we finally get the choice to democratize the faculty, to actually vote, and to not just see the makeup of who makes decisions in the faculty be automatically approved. So I just really want to send this message out to anybody in our faculty. If you are thinking about voting in any election, I think this is the election to go to, necessarily because of the unique dangers that we're facing as a faculty, and because of the unique opportunities that we're getting through the fact that there's more than one party running. This doesn't mean that we're here to start war. This doesn't mean we're here to start conflict. This just means that we're here to give people more options, that we're here to give people a voice, that we're willing to give people more information and more transparency. So giving this vote is not only about voting for a specific candidate, for a specific party. This is about voting for a more engaged faculty that has more democracy within it, and that is also more a part of university politics, that is more a part of the university governance as a whole. So I think this is necessarily what you're going to be voting for, and I advise you all to go onto our website at gsb.fyi/vote to get informed with our program, to get informed on how you can also become part of the union, and how you can make sure that we're here to represent your voice and your ideas as well.
Thank you so much. And we'll come to the end to this discussion. It's been I feel like very good discussion. And a reminder to everybody that the elections will open on the 12th of May, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So go and vote for both University Council and Faculty Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.